One of the best Disney movies ever wasn't made by Disney.
Stay with me now.
That's right. There's a knockoff Disney movie that's way better than most actual Disney movies. I know how that sounds, but hear me out.
Stay with me now.
In 2002, the now defunct independent studio, Feature Films for Families, released a straight-to-video animated film titled The Princess and the Pea. The movie took the Disney route of infusing an age-old fairy tale with the now standard princess movie hallmarks. A beautiful but downtrodden princess, a dashing prince, catchy, upbeat musical numbers, and a villain so comically wicked, you won't know whether to love or hate him. What separates this from being another soulless imitator is the unbelievably high level of quality poured into every aspect of the movie. Polished artwork that honors its lovable characters, which in turn bring an engaging story to life, and a soundtrack reminiscent of the genre's greatest classics, all combining to create a film that rivals Disney's best works. But if the movie were that good, surely it would have some type of following. But this is as obscure a movie as you'll ever come across. And for one of this rare caliber, that needs to change. So let's look at the lost Disney princess movie that never was. This is The Princess and the Pea. The film starts with a court historian, an elderly crow named Sebastian, keeping records of the kingdom of Coronation. He recounts how a princess, discovered through a pea, was a fair and just ruler, but the following generations let their greed destroy her legacy, until peace finally returned under the current king. Worry arises with the king's reign coming to an end, and it's expected that one of his sons will take the throne, most likely the evil Prince Lair. Throughout the movie, there's a subtle blend of 3D and 2D animation, beginning with the 3D inkwell against Sebastian's 2D foot dipping into it. As the film progresses, the usage of this hybrid does increase, but is virtually unnoticeable, and is one of the rare instances where CGI not only doesn't detract from the film's visuals, but enhances them. We follow the young prince of a neighboring kingdom, Royo of Arvea, riding through the countryside past the townsfolk of Coronation, who sing about their morning tasks. There is an unmistakable similarity between this song and Beauty and the Beast's opening song, Bonjour. Both are peppy, waking melodies with a full chorus of ordinary citizens singing, and you'd be hard-pressed to convince me that there wasn't a substantial amount of inspiration that made its way into here.
Weeds need a whacking, it's time to get cracking and greet the morning. No denying she's a funny girl, that belle.
But imitation, no matter how good, never guarantees equal levels of success. In this case, however, some of that Disney magic manages to rub off. The arrangement is booming and atmospheric. The lyrics, which plague many Disney-style knockoffs by either being too simplistic, or the inverse, too convoluted, give hope that this isn't going to be another half-hearted copycat. I can't tell you how blown away I was by the time the song was over. I fully expected the bag to be fumbled at some point, with an awkwardly worded stanza, or a weird line that breaks the immersion, but when it wrapped, I was in shocked disbelief that the song turned out to be that good without any hiccups. Now admittedly, the design of the first few people did worry me that this world would be filled with generic looking humans. But thankfully, this is a solitary occurrence, and the rest of the film's overall look maintains an astonishingly consistent high level of quality. Prince Royo rides into town along Coronation Prince Heath and his wife, followed by Heath's brother Prince Lair and his wife Helsa, and these two could not be any more obvious of villains. Both draped in black, Lair stroking his scowling purple falcon as he looks out the carriage window mocking everyone's happiness, vowing to take away anything they have to be joyful about once he becomes king the following day.
Tomorrow I will rule the kingdom. Then we'll see what they have to sing and dance about.
The royals' arrival is celebrated by a cheering crowd, but aside from the jesters, the rest of the scene looks sort of empty. Maybe it's the crowd's obvious looping actions, but it feels barren. Noticeably the distant shot of the city, where people join hands and spin in a circle, but everyone else is stationary. Finding ways to keep animation costs down is common practice, but you don't need to necessarily spend a lot of money to make any scene look that lively. Take Disney's The Hunchback of Notre Dame. During the song Topsy Turvy, a number of creative, cost-cutting techniques are employed to make their festival seem more rich and dynamic than is actually drawn. It starts with a shot of Quasimodo swinging into the middle of a massive crowd that you can still pick individual people out of, despite any specific details to anyone in particular. The dancing jester and other characters at the forefront of the next shot reverts the viewer's focus away from their looping actions, and a shot from a lower angle peering upwards is a great perspective to shoot from, since only their backs need to be drawn. Even simply having confetti fall would have helped to have made the scene look less wooden. Prince Royo brings a scroll with the legend of the Princess and the Pea on it, which outlines the secret to discovering who the true princess is. But that part of the page is torn, the only readable portion saying, if the princess is not found, the kingdom will end during the reign of the 18th king, which would be under whoever's crowned next. I am completely dumbfounded by how straight this movie is playing itself, and in turn, how seriously I'm taking it because of its commitment. There is legitimate creative care put into this. That's not to say it doesn't color within Disney's lines with its cute animals and blatant villains, but it more so uses those as strong guidelines to build their film in the mold of, rather than direct blueprints to trace over. Lair launches into a song about how as king, he'll demand the best of everything for himself, while being as harsh as humanly possible toward his future subjects. There's something to be said about his vileness. He's not like other villains who feign kindness while waiting for the ideal moment to expose their true nature. He's abhorrent from the get-go.
That's what it takes to rule, my pet. That's what it takes to rule.
You need to be wary of him out of respect for his sheer ruthlessness, but his shrill shrieks and whining at the most minimal of pushback make it so you can still laugh at how much of a child he acts like, but without coming off as too cartoonish. That's the mark of a well-crafted villain you want to root against. Prince Royo interjects, singing about how a proper king should serve the people.
But I take issue with your selfish attitude.
What?
They duet back and forth, Lair trying to instill in the boy that riches are what make a ruler, while the idealistic youngster refutes his ideology. The war of words escalates when Royo proclaims Heath should be king, and Lair threatens to have him executed and obliterate his kingdom before the two go their separate ways. Their opposing beliefs are the perfect subject for a riveting, combative musical number. The music is great, it's funny. This song should be on every cartoon music playlist, plain and simple. The next day, the ceremony to crown a new king awaits, but there's a unique twist to determine who gets to rule. It's not inherently the eldest son's birthright. It's whichever of the king's sons enters the throne room first on Coronation Day, which gives Royo the idea to get Heath to enter the hall first. Regarding Heath, he's the least impressive person in this whole affair. He's passive, almost timid. He's not a bad character because he's ineffectively written. He was just purposely developed to be meek, so he comes off nearly pathetic as a result. Royo's plan to get Heath to enter into the room works, and he's crowned king, much to Laird's disapproving squeal.
The crown and kingdom belong to me!
His screams are so funny, but there is a tangible fury that shows through, and he's the most entertaining character in the film by far anytime he's on screen. As the disgraced royal walks away, Heath designates him to rule over the Pig Kingdom, but the excitement doesn't end with his own ascension to the throne, as his wife informs him he's going to be a father. Fast forward 9 months, and Laird has also become a father to a baby girl, which dashes any final hopes of him reclaiming the throne, collapsing into his chair, defeated by this disappointing revelation.
Well, plague, it's over. I might as well take off the shoes.
His reaction is so horrible, it's funny. He's been waiting 9 months, not for a child, but for one last hurrah to regain what he sees as his rightful lot in life. And the at best indifference, and at worst disdain, he feels towards his new daughter, you can't get much lower than him. A glimmer of hope enters his midst by way of a royal messenger, announcing Heath's wife passed while giving birth to a baby girl. Laird quickly concocts a letter that states his and Helsa's daughter passed, and requests that he let Helsa help raise his child in order to cope. Heath agrees, but unbeknownst to him, Helsa and Laird plan to switch the two babies, so their daughter will be raised as a vicious, spoiled princess that torments King Heath while hiding the real heir. Although a direct accessory to the plot, Helsa worries the merciless Laird may harm Heath's daughter, and when she asks him to promise he won't hurt the child, he sarcastically moans, "Aww," promising not to as he rolls his eyes.
Promise you won't harm her.
Aw,
I'm still her aunt.
I promise.
Many years later, we rejoin Heath's real daughter, named Daria, singing about another day in her lifetime of servitude to her miserable step-parents and wanting more out of life for herself. This is the biggest, most important, singular moment in the movie. It's our princess's first song, so it has to be great. If it is, it immediately elevates the film's credibility to that of a valid animated release that deserves to be looked at on its own terms. Realistically, if it isn't great, it plummets the movie into cheap imitation status, no matter how good the rest of the movie may be. And the verdict on the song? It's one of the most impressive, non-Disney songs I've ever heard in an animated movie. It's a total homage to the classic era of princess movies. The orchestra's backing melody is stunning, and though singing about having greater aspirations for herself is par for the course for these films, it's still lyrically inspired, and bolstered by her powerful, emphatic voice.
Down the meadow, past the ravine, does the grass grow greener than green are the...
You can put it against any Disney song, and even if you don't believe it eclipses any of them, at the very least, it belongs in the conversation. And that says everything that needs to be said about how good it is. Back at the castle, Laird's daughter, named Hildegard, is exactly like her real parents, only more spoiled, but with none of the awareness, complaining about her jewels and portrait not being extravagant enough, and angrily dismissing Heath when he brings up her deceased mother, which pierces his heart. She goes to sleep on 20 mattresses provided by Sebastian, who sneaks into her room at night and retrieves the pea at the bottom of the stack, still unsure of how this is all supposed to identify who the royal heir is. This leads to Sebastian's song, trying to use science to decipher how the pea works. His musical chops are exceptional, but watching him get hurt while conducting experiments on the pea is the real highlight. I didn't at all expect a song from him, so it's a memorable, welcome surprise.
Do you bows, do you glow? Tell me, how do you know when a noble lady rests her head?
He participates in a friendly duel with the now grown Prince Royo. The animation here being particularly fluid, which is one of the film's notable aspects. It seems like at certain points, character movements are rotoscoped. I don't have proof of it. It could just be this is all superb animation, and if that's the case, great work. But it does seem like there might be some rotoscope involved. Royo shares he's searching for a wife, wanting someone kind and noble, but steadfast on marrying someone who will provide strategic political benefits for his kingdom. To his misfortune, he catches Hildegard's eye, finding his abundant wealth to be his most attractive quality, brazenly declaring there to be wed, embarrassing even her shameless mother. What's worse is that everyone encourages him to run. This doesn't deter her though, and she screams for her carriage so she can further pursue him. And that pitch and penchant for yelling definitely runs in the sight of that family. And when Laird sees how detestable she's become, he shows genuine pride in something for the first time in his life. Not even people being friendly are safe from her wrath. Daria offers her horses water, and Hildegard rips it from her hands and throws it onto the street. And Laird tries to spin this to Royo that she's just misunderstood and to give her a chance, while Helsa reveals to Hildegard the secret truth of her birth. The prince rides off and spots a bear following Daria, and the sequence of him trying to catch up, passing by silly, cute animals, contains that iconic Disney essence, not to mention the beautiful set pieces. The scary forest opening into ethereal ruins, it's truly something to admire. After bravely warding off the bear with a fish, Daria shows Royo the abandoned castle, and breaks into a song about a would-be kingdom where she would rule with compassion. Like the other songs, it's an instant winner, And this one takes an incredibly inventive turn when the stained glass people jump from the windows and start dancing with the pair. I can't think of anything I've ever seen like this. I positively adore it. I've already complimented her singing voice, but this song has solidified in my mind that her singer, Kristen Benton, is tied with Liz Callaway, who sang as Anastasia in the 1997 animated film, as the best non-Disney leading lady singers. Though Benton being included can technically being contested, seeing as she did act as the singing voice for Disney's Pocahontas outside of the main film in various other pieces of media. Either way, her voice shines in a soundtrack loaded with great talent. In spite of the natural attraction, Royo begrudgingly continues on his quest to find a suitable bride, arriving at a nearby kingdom to meet a prospective wife. Royo meets the king and queen, who enthusiastically sing the praises of their prim and pristine daughter. When he sees her in all her glory, he's enthralled with her beauty and elegance, softly singing how he believes he's found the one.
She flows, she glows, she walks on air.
But of course, she's not all she seems. A lifetime of being waited on hand and foot has turned her into an unbearably demanding person, and he hands her off back to her father saying,
Oh, pardon me, your grace, but I believe that this is yours.
The track continues at the next kingdom, where he believes this time he's found his true love, until she comes out as a relentless prankster. The repeated shift from tender soliloquy to horrifying discovery at these women's eccentricities is perfect. I'm admittedly a bit biased due to my love for songs that have drastic tonal switch-ups, and this one executes that flawlessly. Plus, the princesses are so funny. I want to see which others inhabit these lands, and we sort of get to as he pinballs around the map, which is a fun joke I feel like we'd see in something like Aladdin. The song ends on a hilariously bittersweet note, with Royo giving up hope and Sebastian encouraging him not to despair, because he has no idea if the next princess may just be the one.
Don't despair. Another door lays before us. Never know what you'll see.
And in a comically fitting end, the last princess turns out to be the worst of them all.
Where's my buttermilk bath?
This song stands as one of the funniest I've ever heard in an animated film. I know I keep repeating the same points. The singing is so good, the lyrics are reminiscent of the best 90s animated films, but I'm not throwing this praise around lightly, nor am I being hyperbolic, asserting these pieces stand shoulder to shoulder with the studio that practically invented the genre. Listen for yourself and tell me this doesn't stack up against those classics. A stunning turn occurs when Heath gives Sebastian a letter to deliver to Royo, stating he's disinheriting Hildegard, and if Royo does marry Daria, he'll give them his kingdom. Sebastian quickly makes his way, but is taken out of commission by Laird's falcon, and Laird begins putting the wheels in motion, turning the town against Daria by saying she's the cause of their drought. With no supporting evidence presented to them, the townspeople believe Laird and become an angry mob intent on ridding themselves of Daria's supposed evil. Daria tries to escape back into the ruins, but Laird, being the detestable louse he is, sets it ablaze, then has the gall to tell Royo he was trying to stop the townsfolk and rescue Daria himself. He has zero scruples. He will literally do anything to get what he wants. The fire happens to burn up the brush that hides the legend of the Princess and the Pea, and the moral is expounded upon by Sebastian in a much better way than I've heard it explained before. The reason the true princess can feel a pea placed beneath 20 mattresses is because a truly noble heart is so sensitive to people's needs and heartaches, meaning that even an injustice as insignificant as a single pea, she'd be able to recognize, which is what goes into being a great ruler. Royo rescues Sebastian and exhaustedly collapses into Laird's arms, and in another hilariously despicable action, as Royo passes out calling for Daria, Lair tells the surrounding crowd he was calling out to marry Hildegard.
Prince Rollo wants to marry Princess Hildegard.
Royo later wakes up, greeted with the unwelcome news he's to be wed to Hildegard, and not even Sebastian can help him as he's gone mad from the recent traumatic events. The star-crossed lovers sing a duet, longing for each other once more, and when the rain begins to pour, Daria wanders into town looking for shelter. Faced with the choice to get out from the rain or help an injured woman, she can't betray her selflessness and helps the fallen woman, who repays her kindness by taking her back to Heath's castle to rest, where the staff are preparing for Royo and Hildegard's wedding. Daria helps herself to rest on top of the 20 mattresses in the quintessential sleeping princess pose that all princesses sleep in, but she can't get comfortable, tossing and turning, proving she is the rightful princess. After a brief tussle with Lair, Sebastian exposes Hildegard as a fraud, and Lair takes matters into his own hands, holding Daria hostage, his evil growing by the second. As he moves to escape with her, he cuts the chandelier to kill Royo, but Heath pushes him out of the way and is crushed by the light fixture. Laird sarcastically mourns his fallen brother and quickly proclaims himself the new king. When he sees Heath is still alive, he mutters,
My reign was short but glorious.
his obsession on being king totally consuming him more on principle at this point. They slink through underground tunnels, but no combination of booby traps or conniving can keep Royo from facing off with Laird atop the castle, but more trickery puts him in a precarious position, kicked by Laird, left to hang off the side of the castle. The heroes quickly work together and battle their way back, and when they all reunite, there's a sweet moment where Daria is eager to learn about her mother, finally giving Heath someone to share her memory with, before she walks down the aisle to marry Royo. The Princess and the Pea feels like a unique glimpse into another timeline where Disney chose to forego working on fully 3D animated movies and instead continued making traditional princess movies using hand-drawn animation. And if this is the way they would have turned out, I wouldn't mind living in that world. There isn't much public sentiment for the film, but critics did praise its music and the movie overall, nominating it for, and subsequently winning, several smaller awards. It did also have its own spin-off series, though the episodes are rare and can be difficult to get a hold of. Overall, The Princess and the Pea is a godsend if you enjoy classic 90s Disney movies, simultaneously feeling like both a throwback and a step forward in the evolution of the princess movie genre. So if you want to revisit that past you've always longed for, but never knew how to get back to, you've found your way there.